This week, I don't want to get into anything quite deep, I just kind of want to talk about my opinion of a few languages. So I created a language learning tag on Twitter, which you can follow, so that I could answer a few questions about what I think about a bunch of different languages. There really isn't a purpose, this is just for fun, laughs, giggles. I don't want to take myself too seriously, so sometimes I just want to have some fun. My native language. My native language is English, my heritage language. Heritage language is something important to mention because it's in a special place in your brain compared to your native language and compared to other foreign languages you've learned. For me, that is definitely Bulgarian and Russian, especially Bulgarian. They are in places in my mind that are very familiar and comfortable and feels like home. The rhythm makes sense to me, the pronunciation doesn't feel foreign to me. But at the same time, I can't express myself as sophisticated as I can in English because I was educated in English. The first foreign language you've learned. I purposefully made these questions very open-ended and not very precise. So I guess the answer is French because I learned French in high school, but that's not so definite. What do you count as first? For me, I think French is the first. First language you self-study, that is gonna be Korean for me. I think Korean started as some breadcrumbs in the summer of 2013. I really wanted to read the social media posts of some K-pop idols I really liked, so I taught myself Hangul. I wanted to do something over that summer. I didn't learn any Korean vocab or grammar in 2013. That was for 2014. Over the summer of 2014, I remember every single day I listened to a lot of Talk to Me in Korean grammar podcasts while I was playing Mario Kart 8. So I have a really strong association with Talk to Me in Korean and Mario Kart 8. That's my association. Language you wished was your native language. I used a tense in English that makes it seem counterfactual, but for me it's English. I wouldn't change anything about my native language. For me, I think I am happy to be a native speaker of English just because of the sheer breadth of knowledge that's in English on the internet. You can really learn absolutely anything on any topic in English. Of course, there are some things that you can only access in other language, but I think for the main civilizational things about skills, about knowledge, history, I think most of it exists in English. Of course, I love learning languages so that I can access those bits that are not in English. But I mean, there's nothing more comfortable than speaking English in this world as your native language. You can travel anywhere you want without a problem. Anywhere you go, somebody's going to speak your language. Even if they don't speak good English, they probably know enough for you to make yourself understood. Language you wish you studied more. I wish I studied more Turkish because I really enjoy the sound of Turkish. There's so much interesting content made in the Turkish language, but it takes quite a lot of effort, and I think over the last 5 years I just haven't made enough time for Turkish. Language you wish wasn't so hard. Korean. I mean, I love the Korean language so much, but I hate how much everything is transformed. It's just so much to go through. In order to get some comprehension of what you're listening to, there is just so much you need to know. I wish it didn't have to be that hard because there's so much interesting content in the Korean language. Language you have officially quit. So when I went to Bulgaria, I bought a textbook for the Romani language, the Roma language, the Tsigansky language. And it's a really bad book. It started using words that it never taught me. It started using grammars it never taught me. So after like chapter 2, I was completely lost. It is not a good book. And I'm not that motivated to understand the Romani language. I looked up the distributions of speakers, and it's such a decentralized language that I think it's not worth the effort. So that is probably the only language that I have officially quit. I didn't even officially start it, but I officially quit that language. Language you wish you could speak every day. German. For me, the sounds of German are just so comfortable to make. It's just so fun to speak. It's so rewarding to make a sentence in German. I love German so much. I wish I had more opportunities to speak it. A language that everyone speaks but you never want to try. When you say you never want to do it, you're going to end up doing it. So I'm actually kind of scared to say this, but I think so many people in the language sphere on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube speak Portuguese, and it just never popped out at me. One of my closest friends speaks Portuguese very well, and he's just talking about it, and I'm just like,
I can't do it. I can't. You are stressing me to hell. I can't. I'm done.
he just speaks so enthusiastically about Portuguese, and I'm like, okay. But now that I said that I never want to try it, I'm probably gonna fall in love with it in like 5 years. Language everyone speaks and you want to try. In the language learning spheres, I've noticed a lot of people speak Italian, and I really like the sound of Italian, but I just never have had the push. I tried to quote unquote learn Italian in 2 hours in a video like a year and a half ago, and I kind of enjoy it, but I haven't really had a spark for Italian yet. One day I'll want to try Italian, but today's not the day. Language that makes you nervous. I feel like Russian makes me nervous because I know I should speak better Russian than I do, but my Russian is garbage. So bringing up the Russian language makes me realize, oh, you're awful, you're really stupid, you don't do anything. I need to speak better Russian. Language that feels soothing. I think soothing is a tie between German and Turkish, just because I like the rhythm of both. They're very different rhythms, but I don't know, they kind of relax me. Songs in those languages are really relaxing. I'll go with that. German and Turkish, final answer. Language that feels like a businessman in a suit. I got creative with this one. This is such an open-ended question, you can answer it any way you want. I feel like Japanese is that language for me. I think Japanese is the language that feels like a businessman in a suit. It's what I've been listening to. I just can't get the like announcer voice out of my head, the narrator voice. Like when I hear Japanese, I kind of like hear like kyo hatsubai. Like somebody trying to tell me something. Like I feel business. Japanese just gives me businessman advertisement. That's the vibes I get from Japanese. Language that feels like grandma's home cooking. You know, the obvious answer would be Bulgarian because my grandma speaks Bulgarian. But I'm gonna say Korean gives me that feeling of grandma's home cooking. I can't explain it, but just, I don't know. Korean is something that Harmony is gonna speak when she's making something delicious. That is just Korean. That is Korean. Language that feels like a mad scientist's experiment. English. As I'm learning more languages, I realize how messed up English is. I talked about it in a video last week, but maybe I can mention more about it. On a surface level, I really hate when people say, English is so hard because of irregular verbs. Like, come on, every language has that. You don't know what you're talking about. The thing that makes English hard is that it's really unclear, the syntax of a sentence, because we don't have a lot of word endings. English speakers love to say how difficult English is, but then they cite all of the things that aren't even problems, and then they call things that actually are helpful in other language, they call those things in English something that simplifies English. No, it makes it more complicated. I don't know, this is like a topic for another day, but English is just an amalgamation of grammars and vocabs and strange pronunciation, like a mad science experiment, bam, boom. Language you think is overrated. I feel like French is overrated. Not to say it's a bad language. I love French. People lose their minds over learning French. Like, relax. Maybe I'm thinking that just because I'm a native English speaker, so Americans and British people like to learn French, but like French is like so middle tier language. I'm thinking French is overrated because it doesn't have any particularly interesting features. It doesn't really have anything that its neighbors don't have. Language you think is underrated. I'm gonna say Swedish. Swedish is kind of underrated because it's not so complex, but there's a lot of depth? Is that a contradiction? Language with the hardest pronunciation. Can I say English? Is that cheating? English has pretty unpredictable pronunciation, but that's not my final answer. My final answer is gonna be, I'm gonna do a cop-out and I'm gonna say a language I've never learned before, Danish. Danish has the hardest pronunciation, even though I've never learned it. I just saw people speaking it and it's shocking.
Rødgrød med fløde.
Yeah, Danish, final answer. Language with the easiest pronunciation, I'm gonna say Turkish. I'm not saying my Turkish pronunciation is perfect. None of the sounds in Turkish are particularly shocking to me. In fact, I think the spelling and the syntax of the language make pronunciation better. You have vowel harmony, so usually within one word you're gonna have similar vowels. So I think pretty objectively, languages with vowel harmony are easier to pronounce. Turkish, final answer. Language with the easiest grammar. People say Chinese grammar is easy, but maybe it's because I'm still a beginner, but like Chinese doesn't feel so easy to me. It feels like there's not a lot of complexity, but it does seem difficult to me. So I'm gonna say Swedish has the easiest grammar just because there's not a lot going on there. There's not too much to memorize. There's not a lot of big words. I think words connect very easy, so I'm gonna say Swedish has the easiest grammar. Language with the hardest grammar, I think it's gonna be either Korean or Turkish. I'm gonna say Turkish just because of the breadth of things you need to memorize, of endings you need to memorize, of affixes you need to memorize. Korean is up there, but I'm gonna say Turkish just because there's so many affixes. Language with the best writing system, probably Korean. I made a video like a year and a half ago about Hangul and why it's so amazing. I'm gonna say Korean has the best writing system just because the letters are like diagrams of how you pronounce them. Plus, it complements the language so well. It's a language that needs enough flexibility of an alphabet, but still needs to order things in syllable glyphs. So I think Korean has the best writing system. Language with the worst writing system. I think Chinese is the cop-out answer. At least there's some kind of pattern that you notice as you continue. Probably either English or Japanese, but Japanese is beautiful. So I'm gonna say English has the worst writing system because we inherited an inherited alphabet that was inherited from another alphabet, and it doesn't even match the sounds that we make. Some letters make multiple sounds, but some sounds are used in multiple letters. And your language learning guilty pleasure, Latin. I learned Latin in university, and I don't officially try to improve my Latin, but like, it's a good language. I love the vocab, the grammar. I love trying to get in the heads of ancient people that think so differently, and it puts into perspective how much our language is affected by time. I am embarrassed that I learned it, so I never put it in my social media, but like Latin's fun. I love Latin. Ooh, I should learn Old English. When I learn Old English, that's gonna be my guilty pleasure. I think that's all for today. I answered a bunch of questions. I talked about all these languages I've learned and my opinions on a bunch of languages. So, I mean, that's that on that. You can also make a video with this language tag. It's easy content for you. Just open Twitter and read the questions. If you want to see more from me, you can follow me on social media, which is linked below. I'll also have a link to the Twitter thread that includes this language tag. I have a website at studywithalex.com where I talk about language related things. So I'll see you for another video very soon, alright? Do widzenia.